Our next problem asks us to find the x-intercept and the y-intercept of a line. Graphically, it's going to look something like this. There's our line. I've drawn it with a negative slope. And we want to find our x-axis intercept. And we want to find our y-axis intercept. Now remember that the north-south axis is our y-axis, and the east-west is our x-axis. So if I have 7x plus 3y is equal to negative 12, I can find the equation of the line by solving for y. So solve for y to find the equation for this line. And so I could rewrite this as 3y is equal to negative 12 minus 7x. I'm essentially subtracting 7x off both sides of the expression. And then y is going to be equal to 12 plus 7x over 3. And that whole thing is going to have a negative sign in front of it. Now, I didn't actually need to do that to answer the question. So if I want to find the x-axis intercept, well, what is y at the x-axis intercept? Well, y is always equal to 0. Y is equal to 0. X is going to be equal to some number, except at the origin where it's equal to 0. So to find the x-axis intercept, set y equal to 0 and solve for x. So I've got 3. Well, maybe I'll start with this equation up here. I'll go back to the original equation. So I'm going to have 7x plus 3 times 0. And that's equal to negative 12. And so I'm going to have x is equal to negative 12 over 7. And to find the y-axis intercept, set x equal to 0 and solve for y. We did this in an earlier problem, and so I'll start with the original expression because that's easy to work with. I've got 7 times 0 plus 3y is equal to negative 12. 3y is equal to negative 12. And y, the y-intercept is equal to negative 4. So this is my x-axis intercept, and this is my y-axis intercept. Here we are on ALEK's. The y-intercept is negative 4, and the x-axis intercept is negative 12 over 7. And let me just double check that. And let's see if we have the right answer. And we do. So we successfully found the y-intercept and the x-intercept for that equation. So we've got this Royal Fruit Company, and they create 2 different types of fruit drinks. One has 60% pure fruit juice, the other 85% pure fruit juice. and they like to make a third drink that contains 75% fruit juice. So how many pints? A pint is close to half a liter, and it's a very British measure of unit. And you can see the British influence in Toronto. Toronto, when you go out to a bar and you order a beer, you often order a pint of beer. So we want to find how many pints of each pure fruit juice to combine in order to get 80 pints of a combined mixture. So here are some equations that are going to help us. The first equation is that we've got, in type 1, we have 60% pure fruit juice. And if we multiply that by the weight, how much as a percentage, the proportion of type 1 to use, and add that with the type 2 mixture, which is 85% pure, we want to combine those two so that we have that third drink that contains 75% pure fruit juice. A couple other equations we need. If we want to know how many pints of type 1 we'll need, well, we want a total of 80. And if we multiply that by the proportion, the weighting of type 1, we will get how many pints of the first fruit juice we need. Similarly, if we want to know how many pints of the second type we need, well, we can take 80 and multiply that by the weight of the second type of fruit juice. So it looks like we've got two unknowns here. But what we can do is we can make our life a little bit easier, because we know that, and we use this very often in economics and finance, that the proportion of the first type of juice plus the proportion of the second type of juice has to be equal to 1. We can't use a negative proportion. So how much of the first juice type we use has to be greater than or equal to 0. And similarly, the weighting on the second type also has to be greater than or equal to 0. And it can't be greater than 1. It can't be greater than 100%. Can't use more than 100% of one juice type. We can't do that. That would be physically impossible. So now we've got a whole bunch of expressions that can help us solve a word problem like this. I'd like to start with equation 3. And we can see here that if I rearrange this, the weighting of the second juice type is equal to 1 minus the weighting on the first. And so I can take this expression and plug it into the first equation. So the first equation becomes 60% pure juice times weight 1 plus 85% pure juice times 1 minus W1 is equal to 75%. We want to get that 75% pure juice. Multiplying this out, we get 60% times W1 plus 85% minus 85% W1 is equal to 75%. Now I can collect like terms. and we get minus 25% W1 is equal to minus 10%, and therefore W1 is going to be equal to 10 over 25, which is equal to 2/5, 2 over 5. What's W2? Well, W2 is equal to 1 minus W1, which is equal to 1 minus 2 over 5, which is equal to 5 minus 2 over 5, which is equal to 3 over 5. Right? You see how much faster I'm going. If you watch the first topic videos, I go over that really slowly. Now I'm going much faster. And you should be able to go this fast too. As you practice and practice and practice, you're going to get better and better and better at it. Now that I know what my weights are, I can answer the question, right? The question is asking us how many pints. So it wants to know the number of pints, the amount of pints of type 1 fruit drink and the number of pints in type 2. So the pints of 1 is going to be equal to 80 total pints multiplied by 2 over 5, and that's equal to 160 over 5. But if I don't want to use a calculator, I can see that this is also equal to 40 over 5 times 4, which is equal to 8 times 4, which is equal to 32. So that's a fairly straightforward way of calculating that. Now we go with pints 2. How many pints of the second type of fruit juice are we going to need? Well, I mean, there's other ways to do this, but I'll do it the long way. And like I did before, I'm going to have 240 over 5. It's like 40 over 5, which is going to be equal to 8, times 6. And I get 8 times 6, which is going to be equal to 48. Here we are on ALEKs. Let's see if we've got the right answer. So for the first fruit drink, we had 32 pints. And for the second fruit drink, we had 48. Notice that the sum of those two is 80, so that's a good sign we have the right answer. I'll click the check box, and we got the right answer.